Hello everyone, this is going to be the first video about how to use Fluent in Ansys, in which in this case we are going to first have an overview of what the models or systems that are the most important that you can use. In this case, as you can see here in the toolbox, we have here in the blue color the fluid flow simulations that we can perform in Ansys. In this case, we're just going to focus on Fluent and Fluent with Fluent Meshing. As you can see here, I have already selected three different modules. One of these is just the geometry, which I can use just to perform some modifications, some sketch, and then I can link this result into one or more than two modules. As you can see, for example, in here, if I select this and then I try to link it, I can link it to this module A or module B, and I also can link it to both. So, and right now I'm going to leave it like this, and in this case the models which you want to use can also be seen here in the component systems. In this case, the geometry is just this one. You can select and then you can put it in here. Why are we going to use Fluent and Fluent with Fluent Meshing? The primary difference is that the fluid flow simulation, in which you only use Fluent, the meshing is done in this model. And in Fluent with Fluent Meshing, you have more options that you can use in order to perform the mesh. You can also take advantage of your computer power, so you can create more complex mesh, and you can adapt them with different models, as we are going to see in future videos. So first of all, as you can see here, it is very easy. You just have to select fluid flow module or system, then you can put it in here, and as simple as this, you have access to the all the setups and all the options of this system. Also, if you don't want it, you can right click with your mouse and then you can delete. So in terms of geometry, we have three options. First one is new discovery geometry. You have the space claim and DesignModeler. In this video, we are going to talk about primarily about DesignModeler and just a few comments related to space claim. So now we have to wait till the DesignModeler uh, system opens, and the interface is the one as you can see here. Something very important when you're going to perform some the DesignModeler is the units. Normally they are about they are in meters, and if in case you want to change it, you have to go right up here and then select the millimeter option, and you can confirm here, or you can also confirm here in this button as I'm showing. After changing the units, I can start performing some geometries, and I have three planes as you can see here, and you have to select the arrow in order to see the plane in which you're going to work in. So for example, if I'm going to work in the X, Y plane, then I will need to click on the Z arrow. So as you can see here, I am the XY plane. Also, you can just create, for example, I'm going to select this plane and then I'm going to create a new sketch. This will allow me to create some geometries in this sketch as any other CAD software. Then by clicking this, then I can also click at the look at face plane sketch. Once the sketch is being done in the XY plane, then it automatically shows the plane which I'm going to work with. Then the sketching option, I have to click it here. Then I have these options in order to create my sketch. Then if I click here in this down arrow, I have more draw options. So this is very basic, as you can see. but the advantage is that it's not that complicated. For example, I'm going to draw a line, and something very important, because as you can see here, as I'm touching y the y line or axis, there it appears as a, which is very important. In this case, we can have p, c, v, and h. C means that the line is going to be coincident with this axis. So if I click here, it means that the line starts at the y-axis. And as you can see right now, the line, it's not straight, but it automatically will see that I'm trying to create a straight line in the x-axis. So it appears the h, which means that it will automatically correct this small angle that I have. If I increase the angle, then I will create a line with an angle, obviously, and then I have to constrain it properly. In this case, I'm going to put a straight line. As you see, it automatically creates a straight line. Also, there are some options that I can use in order to guarantee that this horizontal line and it has no angles. And something very important that you need to know is that when the line or the sketch is in this color, it means that some constraints needs to be done. For example, the distance between the x-axis is not defined. The length of this line is also not defined. So in this case, I'm going to put here some dimensions. As I can see here, the vertical dimension means that I have to select two lines, or in this case, one axis and one line. I'm going to put here one dimension, and then if I click here in general, I can just select this line. So as you were able to see, the sketch or the line that I just draw changed its color, which means that this line is fully constrained. It doesn't appear as any message here as in other software like fully constrained or something like that, but it's very important to notice that when the color changes from that green blue color to fully electric blue, then it means that your design or your sketch is fully constrained. And here in the details view, you can change the dimension as you want. For example, in this case, I'm going to change it to 50 millimeters. And if you want, you can also use equations, for example, but this you are not able to change it in the future. I mean, if I write here times 2, it will put 20, but as you can see, I have no longer that equation. So you can do this by activating this parameter, and then you have the option to do it outside the design modeler. However, it is very important in case you want to know, for example, some dimensions and you don't want to put, like, for example, 20 point. In this case, I have the comma, but there are some, it depends on what the definitions or the settings that you have in your PC, because sometimes it is point and in others it's comma. In this case, it's comma. You have to pay attention to this. Otherwise, if I write, for example, 20.5, it won't change. And then if I want to change it to 20 comma 5, then it changes. So imagine that you want to know to put, for example, 1 divided by 3. In this case is 0.33333333. So sometimes by using this option, it's not as good as using this one, 1 divided by 3, because here if I click, you can see that the number continues. Also, you can continue like writing, but sometimes it's easier. So just to change it, I'm going to put it here in 10 millimeters. Then if you want to see the values here in your sketch, you just have to, here in the dimensions, you have to click on the display and then deactivate the name, and then the value will be activated. And as you can see here, there's the values, and don't forget that the units are here in this corner. So you can also put some constraints, as I was mentioning before. For example, imagine that you create a line and the age didn't appear because you were in a hurry. So you can, for example, use a horizontal constraint. So we'll make the line horizontal. And you have here some of these. Some of the most important in case you want to have some symmetry or something like that, you can use the equal length, equal distance, and also the symmetry option. And something else that you can be doing is, for example, if you have a line here in the middle, you can use these options to create a chamfer, a fillet, or a extend the line to a point. For example, if I just draw a line here and I want it to be extended to this line, as I'm going to do it right now. For example, I'm going to draw this line, and I want this line to extend to the nearest edge. In this case, it was this one, and you can do it as you can see here. It's not very complicated, and you have too many options. Then I'm going to, for example, if I want to change something, I'm just going to click here, and to know that you're selecting your line, it changes its color to yellow. Then I can press delete, and as you can see, it just disappeared. Then if I want to go back to the principal menu, I just have to click here in modeling. Then I have these three outline, and then for example, in case you want to create, in this case I just drew a line. So as you can see, I have no parts and no bodies, so I need to create a line from a sketch, or I can also create a line from points. And in this case, I'm not able to create a surface because my line is not something that can be considered as a surface. So I'm going to click this, and then I need to select the sketch. Then this is something very important. The operation, you just have two options, which are add material and add frozen. The add material option will try to combine in case you have something before. For example, as this is the first time, so I can choose whether add frozen or add material. And in case I want to create a new sketch, and in case that new line pass through this one, if I select add material, it will combine the two lines or two bodies. It depends on what you're modeling. And if you don't want them to combine, for example, if you want them to be two different or separated bodies because they are two different materials, or they have different cross sections, or they have two different behaviors, for example, one is solid and the other is fluid, then it's very important that you look at this operation. So if I click here in add material, then nothing's going to be different. If I selected add frozen, just the color will be different. And as you can see here, as I have a line, I can, in this case, the software is asking me to select a cross section, and but this is not relevant for your uh, simulation for fluid. So I just wanted to know that what you have here, the options, and I'm just going to do a very quick sketch of a micro channel. So it's going to be very important to show something that you can probably be using. So I'm going to delete this. Okay, and I have to delete this one first. Something that I also forgot to mention is you cannot delete things that are dependent on others. So as you were able to see, I could not delete the sketch because there was a operation that depended on that sketch. So I will first need to delete the feature or the concept that I just created. In this case, I'm going to delete that line 1, and just with that, I'm able to delete the sketch 1, as you can see here.